If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and another tutorial. Today I'm happy to sew along with you the Zynah bag by Kaur Threads. I loved making this bag. Let me show you some of the amazing features of it. So she has an option where you can make it with a crossbody strap or a shoulder strap. She has measurements for both lengths. This one I've done in a crossbody strap. Now one of my favorite features of this is you see how on this front pocket it looks like it's just a usual slip pocket? It's not. Can you see that? It's a hidden zipper pocket right in there. And it's a large size zipper pocket. It's super cool. So it would hold everything really good in there. On the back, we have a large magnetic snap slip pocket, recessed zipper, and on the inside, I did my usual. I put in a large slip pocket and a zipper pocket. Now this is the overlay for the zipper pocket that is in the pattern. It's a birth bag. It's an easy birth bag where you leave the whole bottom open and then you box the corners and everything through the zipper pocket to finish the bag. Materials used in this bag. This gorgeous glitter vinyl is from Galaxy Customs. This is the Wedding Chapel White Viva Las Vegas glitter vinyl from Galaxy Customs. My zippers and zipper pulls are from Blue Cala. My lining fabric is actually from Spoonflower. This is a client order, so she has great taste and I made it as per how she wanted it. But yeah, that's a Spoonflower fabric on the inside. Interfacing in this bag is Decovil Light and Decovil Heavy in the bottom. All my cotton pieces I have fused with Fuse Lite, which is similar to a medium woven interfacing that I get from Emmeline Bags. All of my hardware is from Emmeline Bags. What else? So yeah, minimal interfacing. It's a fast sew, so much fun to do. I truly loved making this bag. Anyways, how about we get to it and we get to making this bag.
You're going to need some rivets, number 5 zipper tape, 2 rectangular rings, 3 number 5 zipper pulls, a slider, optional strap-ins, a zipper end, 5 purse feet, a magnetic snap, and your nameplate. Here is my front top panel with its Decovil Light, my 2 connectors, crossbody strap, my back top piece with the Decovil Light, my front pocket piece with Decovil Light, my 2 exterior side pieces with their pieces corresponding Decovil Lights, my back slip pocket piece with Decovil Light, my bottom piece with Decovil Heavy, my 2 lining top pieces, my lining pieces, interior zipper pocket pieces, exterior pocket lining piece, interior slip pocket piece, 2 exterior and 2 lining zipper panel pieces, my front zipper pocket exterior lining pieces, 2 zipper tabs. Now I'm going to go ahead and do my crossbody strap off camera. If you need a class on how to do that, it's down below in the description. So I'm going to explain how the interfacing works here. So what I'm going to do is start with my front top panel. I'm going to find the centers on my Decovil Light piece and the top and bottom centers of my exterior piece. You're going to see my exterior piece is a rectangle piece. We will cut these into shape later on. So what you're going to do is you're going to measure up from the bottom as per the pattern piece, 3/4 of an inch. And down from the top, make sure you've marked a T at the top so you know which is the top as per the pattern measurements. Mark your center lines, match up your center lines, and then fuse your Decovil Light into place. Now for the front pocket piece, we're going to do similar. You're going to take your Decovil Light piece, mark your centers on the non-glue side. On your pocket piece, same thing, mark your top and bottom centers. Mark a T at the top if you need to. You want to make sure you always know where your top is. Draw your center line on the wrong side of this piece. This helps line up the Decovil Light perfectly. Measure up from the bottom as per the pattern. Draw a line, and down from the top as per the pattern, draw a line. And then the top of your Decovil Light here should line up with that top line, and the bottom should line up at the bottom line, nice and centered, fuse into place. For your back top panel, same thing. Mark your top and bottom centers on your Decovil Light piece, top and bottom centers of your exterior piece. Make sure to mark your T for your top and measure up as per the pattern measurements from the bottom and down from the top, as well as draw that center line just to help with perfect placement of your interfacing. Line up your Decovil Light piece, fuse into place. Okay, so for your back pocket, again, same thing, mark your top and bottom centers. On your exterior, mark your top and bottom center. Mark your top, draw that center line, and then measure up from the bottom as per the pattern measurements. And again, from the top, just like we did with the other pieces. And fuse your Decovil Light piece nice and centered. For our base piece, same kind of thing. You're going to go ahead, find your top and bottom centers as well as your side centers on your exterior piece. Go ahead and match up or drop from the bottom as per the pattern piece and from the sides and the top. Measurements are in the pattern. This just gives such perfect centered placement for our Decovil Heavy piece, like so. In between those lines, fuse into place. Side panels, we're going to repeat almost the same thing here, but something a little different. We have this little template here where we are going to cut out a little rectangle in our Decovil Light piece for our hidden connectors. Once you've done that, you can see here I'm doing my hidden connectors a little different. I've just drawn a 1-inch line at the bottom of her placement marks because I do my hidden connectors slightly different. I'm going to mark that on my exterior side panels here. I'm using 1-inch hardware, so this will be a 1-inch line. And then you're just going to go ahead and cut that 1-inch line. Now you do not want this slit to be too wide, so it's better to be a little bit too small. Make sure it's, I think mine was about 7/8 of an inch or so, which is perfect. And then on the back of these, you're going to go ahead and you're going to draw lines on the back of the exterior pieces as per your pattern measurements. And then fit the Decovil Light fused nice and centered, and that slit should fall right within that rectangle that we cut away. Okay, so now that that's done, we're going to prepare our front zipper pocket. So what I've done is I've taken my zipper ends, I folded it in half, pressed, brought 2 ends into the center, pressed, and then brought those ends together and pressed. So we almost have, it's almost like a little strap in a way. Clip this on to both sides of your zipper. And then we're going to top stitch through those zipper ends with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, making sure we've caught both sides, just like so. Go ahead and trim up those zipper ends so they're the same width as the zipper tape. Now we're going to take our lining zipper pockets as well. You want to find the centers of the right side of your zipper tape like I'm doing here. Make sure it is definitely centered. Now we're going to take our lining pocket, one of the lining pocket pieces here. Find your top and bottom centers. Now what we want to do is I'm going to use double-sided tape. Feel free to use clips as well if you prefer. I'm going to put some tape along here, and I'm going to place my zipper right side up on my lining right side up with my zipper pull going to the right. Stick that in place. Then we're going to take this zipper top piece here. I'm going to measure down 1/4 inch from the top, I believe it is. Double check your pattern here. And we're going to take our template here and we're going to line that top up right at that line that we just drew. And this is going to help us make the shape of this piece for our pocket piece. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trace out the shape like so. Just like so. I'm going to make sure that's facing to the top. Now on the bottom side of that, on the right side, I'm going to lay down some double-sided tape. And then I'm going to put this nice and centered right sides together with that lining piece and the zipper tape, sandwiching the zipper tape, making sure you are definitely sticking the bottom of this zipper top panel piece. Just like so. Then we're going to go ahead and sew across here with a 3/8 inch seam allowance, push the seam down to the lining and top stitch through the lining part of this pocket. You will see at this point the wrong side of your zipper tape facing you when you go to top stitch that. Now go ahead and change into your right zipper foot. This will help us get nice and close to our zipper tape and ensure a nice and straight zipper tape. This is that all done, and you can see here. So now what we want to do is we want to take that zipper and we kind of want to fold it down like so, out of the way, because we're now going to work with the top part of this. So just clip that zipper down and out of the way like so. Now we're going to take our exterior piece, and we have our Decovil already fused on there, and I've also placed my nameplate through the exterior piece. Match up the top centers. So this is our front exterior pocket panel. Making sure that that zipper that's in between there is out of the way so you're not sewing through it. And now we're going to follow that line that we drew as our guide, and this is going to give us that perfect pocket shape. So go ahead. I still have my zipper foot on here because we're not quite done with it, but go ahead and follow that line that we previously drew all the way to the end there. So that is done, and now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our pinking shears right along that curve and clip it 1/8 to 1/4 inch away from the stitching. And then we're going to flip these wrong sides together like so, pressing out that seam, rolling it in between your fingers nice and tight, still having that zipper out of the way because we don't want to be sewing through that. Clipping that seam nice and tight to prepare for top stitching. Once we have that done, you're going to go ahead and we're going to top stitch. Actually, you can go ahead and hold this down in place like this so it doesn't flip up. And now we're going to top stitch all the way around here with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance just across the top. Okay, so that's what that's done. You can go ahead and take these pins out that we're holding our zipper. Flip the zipper up like so. Now you're going to kind of want to hold your exterior piece out of the way now. Undo your zipper, it'll make it easier. I'm going to take some tape along the other zipper pocket lining panel along the top. Use clips as well instead if you prefer. And with the unsewn side of the zipper, so these are both right side up, we're going to match up those centers. If you haven't already, go ahead and clip that center so you know where it is. And stick that zipper tape down on top. So both of those are right side up. You will have to hold the exterior piece out of the way. Kind of just use a clip to hold those out of the way. You can go ahead and baste this in place if you prefer. But I'm just going to go ahead and take my top front panel piece. I'm going to put some double-sided tape along the bottom. Again, you can use clips. Make sure you're definitely on the bottom side of this, right side up. And then place this right sides together, matching up your center marks with the zipper tape that we just stuck down. I just put some clips right where the zipper tabs are, just because it's a little bit thicker there, just to make sure the glue or my glue doesn't give way and that is staying nice where we need it to be. Go ahead and sew across there with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance with your zipper foot on. Now you will see we are not top stitching that just yet here. This is what that looks like. Now what we want to do is we want to open up all of our pieces except for that bottom lining piece. Have it go down to the bottom. All the other pieces are up, and we're going to top stitch through the lining panel to hold that seam in place. So make sure everything else that we've sewn is up and out of the way, and we are just sewing through that bottom lining panel and that seam that we had just sewn. So this is what that looks like. Now you can go ahead and bring everything down. Now what we want to do is we want to match up that seam where the zippers meet up right there. Match up that seam with some clips in place and clip down the side. Do the same with the other side. Match up the seam where our zippers connected like so and clip down the side. And you're going to see that that's going to make that little zipper that zipper facing you. So it's going to be nice and up. It's not going to be down, it's going to be up. So when you look down on that pocket, you're going to see the zipper teeth. This should measure what the pattern measurement says. Make sure your measurements are right. Adjust if you need to. Mine is good. Now you're going to go ahead and hold the exterior out of the way, and we are going to just sew through the 2 lining pocket pieces with the seam allowance in the pattern. Make sure you're not sewing through your exterior, just the lining pocket pieces, like so. Go ahead and put the clips back in, and then you can go ahead and baste down both sides to hold all of this together. That done. Doesn't that look so cool? I just love it so much. I love learning this technique. Okay, so now we're going to work on our back panel and the slip pocket. So I have my slip pocket piece here, my lining piece. I've found my top and bottom centers. Mark a T at the top and a B at the bottom. From the bottom, you're going to measure up as per the pattern piece, centered, to mark where the placement of the male side of your magnetic snap is going to be. Go ahead and put that in there, backed with a piece of Decovil Heavy and some tape over the prongs. Now we're going to take the exterior piece and make sure you know where your top is. Very important. Snip your top and bottom centers if you haven't already. Now we're going to match the bottom of the lining piece with the top of the exterior piece. Go with it. I know it doesn't seem like it makes sense, but I promise you it will. Clip across and go ahead and sew across there with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Then you're going to flip it wrong sides together and a top stitch with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, this is what that looks like. Just go with it. I know it seems like madness right now, but it's going to work. So now make it so your magnetic snap is facing to the bottom. Take your back top panel, make sure you know your top and your bottom. Line up the bottom with the top of the lining pocket piece, like so, nice and centered. I know it seems all weird. These are right sides together. Just go with it, trust me. And then we're going to sew across here, but do not top stitch when you are done this. We will come back once we're done at the machine. Okay, so that's done. This is what this looks like. I know it looks all crazy, but trust me, it goes. Now make sure your seam is pointing down towards the lining piece, and then go ahead and top stitch through the lining piece. Okay, so this is what that looks like. Now what we want to do is we want to measure down from the top as per the pattern measurements and draw a line with a erasable pen. All these measurements are in the pattern. Then we're going to take this bottom section that has our magnetic snap, and you are going to pull it up to that line and clip it in place. It's such an interesting way to do a slip pocket. Make sure it is nice and straight, adjust accordingly. And what we're going to do is now we're going to find the placement of our female side of the snap. So I just like to take some of my erasable pen and put it over the nub of the male snap and then push down on the fabric like this, and it should leave a little dot right there, and that is going to be the placement of our magnetic snap. I'm also making sure that the whole piece measures exactly like it says it should in the pattern. Take those clips out and go ahead and install the female side of your snap like I've done here, back with Decovil Heavy, as well as a scrap of tape. Match up your magnetic snap, putting that back up to those lines. Clip the sides in place, and then you can go ahead and you can baste those sides down. Again, making sure this measures like it says in the pattern and that your pocket is straight. And then go ahead and baste. So that is our back slip pocket done, and our front hidden zipper pocket done, our back and front panels done. Okay, so now we're going to work on our hidden connectors. So I have my connector piece here. I'm going to use some double-sided tape, and then I'm going to bring those along sides into that center line. Next, we have our side panel right side up. Oh, we do want to also find the center on the wrong side of that connector piece. We have our side panel right side up and our connector piece wrong side up. You're going to pull this into that slit that we previously cut, lining it up at that center line. And then we're going to go and sew just through the connector above that slit. Make sure you do not sew below the slit, because then you'll be closing it off. You won't be able to make your connector. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change into my left zipper foot. This is going to help us get nice and close to that slit, as well as get nice and close to the hardware when we go to sew that in. I do my connectors a little bit different than the pattern, so you should be able to stick your finger up through there, put your rectangle ring there, and then bring the other side of the connector through that slit and give it a pull. And that should fold your vinyl over nice to kind of hide the raw edge. If the raw edge is still there, that's okay too. And then go ahead and stitch below the slit now with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance to close up that hole and to hold that fold in place. Both my hidden connectors done. I've gone ahead and put a rivet backed with a scrap of Decovil Heavy in behind the post to hold it in place, and you can go ahead and you can trim those connectors up nice and even. I do have a class on how I do these. If you need a more detailed class, down below in the description. Okay, so now we're going to work on our purse feet here. So you're going to measure in, I believe it was 2 inches in and 1.5 inches up. Double check the pattern measurements for that to mark your 4 purse feet on the sides, and then you're going to put one nice and centered in the middle as well. Once you have those marks done, go ahead and install your purse feet as per your manufacturer's instructions. So that's my purse feet done. Okay, so now take your front piece, your zipper into the middle will help you a lot. Measure down as per the pattern measurements and draw a line on the wrong side. And 1 inch in from each of the short sides. as well as up as per the pattern measurements listed in the pattern from the bottom. Now what we're going to do is we're going to match up that 1-inch line on the top and bring it down to the corners and draw a long line on the wrong side. We are now shaping our front panel piece. Okay, now we're going to take our side panel piece. You're going to make sure that the top of it lines up with that top line we drew and it follows those side lines that we drew. Transfer the shape, which is like a little bit of a blip that goes above that line that we drew. Okay, so that's for front and back. Now what we're going to do is we are going to sew up 1/8 of an inch away from that line towards the center of that bag. So not on the outside of that line, on the inside of the line. On the sides, go ahead and sew 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once that's done, go ahead and cut along those diagonal lines, which should be 1/8 of an inch away from the stitching we just did. And then you're also going to follow that shape that we drawn at the top and cut all the way across. You will do the same for the back panel as well. Okay, so that is done. Now what we want to do on our main panel pieces is draw a 3/8 of an inch box from the bottom corners. Same with the back panel. Same with the 2 side panels on the bottom and all 4 corners of our exterior piece, or our bottom piece. Now for the main panels, you'll have to find your top centers again, so go ahead and snip those or mark those. And on our side panels, we'll want to find our top and bottom centers as well. Okay, so I'm going to start with my front panel and one side panel, and I'm going to line up the sides like so, or right sides together, clip in place. And what we're going to do is we're going to sew from the top, stopping at that 3/8 of an inch box we drew at the bottom, making sure to back stitch well at your start and your stop. So right through here, stopping at 3/8 of an inch box. Okay, so that is done. You can see that bottom corner is unsewn. You're going to measure down about 1 inch from the top and just make a little snip there just to where the stitching is. Do not cut through your stitching, and go ahead and baste that top seam like so open. So that side is done. Go ahead and do the same with the opposite side, and the 3 other sides that we need to do. So that is done. Now we're going to take our bottom panel and we're going to put it right sides together, and you're going to kind of fold out where those unsewn corners are so you can match up the ends like so. And then we're going to sew through this first alongside from box to box with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Making sure you do not sew through those 3/8 of an inch boxes. So that is done. You can see our corners are still free. That's what we want. So you're going to go ahead and do the exact same thing with the opposite long side. Kind of folding back those unsewn 3/8 of an inch box corners so you can go side to side and then sew through there with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Double check that your lines are matching up on your main panels that we just sewn for, so our seams, and they do, our stitching. Go ahead and match up the side bottoms and the sides of this, the bottoms of the sides. They should just fit into place nice and perfect. And so from 3/8 of an inch box to 3/8 of an inch box, double checking that all of your stitching is joining at that nice 90 degree angle on all of the corners. That's what that looks like done. I can see all my stitching matches up everywhere. I'm just going to poke into those corners to make sure there's no holes. Now you're going to take these Y seams and kind of fold them flat and cut them on an angle like so without cutting that stitching. Do that for all 4 corners. And then go ahead and turn this right side out. Go ahead and poke out all of those corners. Look how great they turned out. I just love doing corners like this. I believe they're called Y seams. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments, but I think they are called Y seams. Let me know. Kind of press out all of your seams best you can, giving them a good squish and a roll. And that is our exterior complete. Okay, so now we're going to work on our zipper panel. So I have my zipper tape here, wrong side up. On the right hand side, I'm going to draw a 1-inch line with a pen that won't erase, and that is just going to help us put the zipper pull on nice and straight later. You're going to take the opposite side, right side up, and you're going to kind of pinch and fold these down on this angle like so, and hold with a clip. Do the same with the opposite side of the zipper, making them match up the best that you can. Once you have those pinned in place, go ahead and baste that shape in place right here and here. Once that is done, go ahead and trim those kind of wings off nice and even with the tape and pull your tape apart. Now we're going to take our zipper panels, and what we want to do on the wrong sides of all 4 of these, measure in 1 inch. And then we're going to fold those short ends in. I'm going to use some double-sided tape to hold these in place into those 1-inch lines. You'll do the same with all 4 zipper panels. That's done. You want to ensure they're all the same length, which they are. Now we're going to take our lining pieces. On one, you're going to measure in 1/4 inch from the left top, and the other 1/4 inch from the right. I'm going to use some double-sided tape. Definitely use clips if you prefer. Put some double-sided tape along there. Now for this one on the 1/4 inch from the left, we have these right sides up. You want to take your zipper tape with the curvy end when it's right side up, going to the left. So these are both right sides up, and stick it or clip it down in place. So lining pieces right side up as well as the zipper. Same with the other one, except for the curvy side is going to be going to the right, and you line those curvy sides up with that 1/4 inch mark. Then you're going to go ahead and you're going to take your exterior zipper panel pieces. Again, I'm using double-sided tape. And we are going to put these right sides together, sandwiching that zipper tape in between, making sure our zipper panels line up nicely at those folded in sides. And then we're going to go ahead and sew across there with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Again, you may want to switch into your zipper foot here. That's done. What we want to do is we want to bring these two panels wrong sides together like so, nice and tight. Secure them with some clips to hold them in place, pulling them nice and tight away from the zipper teeth. Clip the raw edge along the bottom as well, because now what we're going to do is we are going to baste that bottom raw edge and top stitch the 3 finished edges with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance for both of our zipper panels. Once that's done, you want to find the centers of the raw edge, so just fold it in half and make your snip. You also want to make sure that the centers line up for both of these zipper panels so we know that they will match up in the bag. So I'm just going to put them together, make sure they're the same length, kind of double check on this side. They look good. Okay, so I've already gone ahead and I've done my pockets. If you need classes on how to do that, they're down below in the description. Just make sure you leave the lining zipper pocket open. Okay, so I'm going to take my back panel, which is my one with my zipper pocket. I have this right side up and my zipper panel right side up with the zipper tape curving to the left. Put this on nice and nice and centered and secure with clips. Then you're going to take your top lining panels. Make sure you know which side is the top. Find your top and bottom centers. So once again, the lining panel and the zipper panel are right sides up. This top lining panel, we are going to take the bottom edge of that and put it right sides together along the top edge of our bottom lining panel and clip it in place. We're going to go ahead and sew across here, flip it up like this so the zipper panel's up, and then top stitch the seam in place through the lining panel. There we go. Now what we want to do is take these two panels, put them right sides together, and the first thing I do is line up that seam that we had just sewn. So we have a nice continuous line where our top panels meet, and clip down the sides. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and to about 2.5 inches or so down, we're going to go with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then at that 2.5 inch mark, we're going to branch out to a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance to the bottom, and that's just going to make it so our lining sits nice and snug inside the bag, so it's not billowing and loose and floppy. Sides done, we're going to leave the bottom completely open for now, and we're also going to go ahead and open up those tops of our seams just like we did on the exteriors, baste those in place, and it'll just help us reduce some bulk when we go to top stitch this later on. So go ahead, butterfly those out and baste in place. There we go. Go ahead and trim that bottom part of the seam allowance up to about a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, like so. Now we're going to take our exterior, we're going to put it into the back and make sure you've got the back and the zipper going, closing the right way, so the curvy end should be going to the left. You have these right sides together, the exterior and the lining. Match up your front and back centers. Once again, making sure the front of the bag is matched with the slip pocket, and at the back of the bag is matched with the zipper pocket, is what I like to do. Just making sure that your zipper is going to be closing to the left or to the right, depending which way you like to close it. Match up your side seams, making sure they're still butterflied open, but they should be because we had already basted those in place. I like to clip in quarter sections, then it makes it really easy to evenly distribute the fabrics in between those quarter sections, and you know everything is nice and even. If you're on a flatbed, you're probably going to want to sew these together from the inside of the bag here. I'm on my cylinder arm, or if you're on a free arm, go ahead and do it around the outside with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so that is done. I'm just double checking everything was caught. If it looks good, go ahead and pull this bag easily through the full opening of the lining like so. Give that seam a nice tug to make sure everything was caught and there's no holes. Once it looks good, go ahead and push your lining into the bag like so. And we're going to fold over that seam we had just sewn, making sure you're pulling the lining down and tight so it's not being caught in that crease, and clip in place to prepare for top stitching all the way around. Again, making sure your lining isn't tucked into where we go. We're going to be top stitching because we're going to be top stitching through the exteriors as well as through those lining top panels to create that recessed zipper. I forgot to mention is you may want to have your bag inside out if you want to top stitch on a flatbed machine so you can top from the inside of the bag on your exterior, or just make sure your bobbin thread is good and top stitch around that way. Again, I'm going on my cylinder arm, or if you're on your free arm, you can do it exactly how I'm doing it here. Okay, so once that is done, we can go ahead and close up the bottom of the bag. So you're going to pull your zipper pocket out like so, reach in through the zipper pocket and pull the entire bottom of the bag through that pocket. First thing we want to do is match up the centers of the bottom of the lining pieces. So we are going to match up those center snips and we are going to clip those in place. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and sew through this seam with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. So that is done. So now we can go ahead and box those corners. So match up the side seams and that bottom seam that we just sewn. And then we will sew across these sides with a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance as well to box those corners. That's what that looks like done. Go ahead, stuff that back inside, make sure everything was caught, and it was, and then you can go ahead and fold in the raw edges of your zipper pocket, clip in place, and top stitch this closed. Stuff that zipper pocket back inside, press everything out nice and flat. And next, all you have to do is go ahead and match up those lines on the back of our zipper tape to put your zipper pull on nice and straight, put on your zipper end and your crossbody strap. So that's what all of that looks like done. Double check your work, pat yourself on the back. I seriously just totally loved making this bag. And we're done.
that's it, and that's all. It's just not a tough sew. Pretty easy. Oh, and so classy. Anyways, I hope you did enjoy this tutorial. If at any time you did, please do make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. We did make this one in our Tuesday classes in February 2024. So if you wanted to slow down real time, about 8 hours-ish or so of sewing this bag, you can definitely check that out on the membership side of the channel. All of that is linked down below. If you'd like to support my channel further, you can always buy me a coffee or give me a super, I think it's called super chat or super something on the YouTube channel. Anyways, thank you everybody. And until the next one, I'll catch you guys again.